Don Lemon, man, this is a person who considers himself to be an objective journalist. He says this. He continues to maintain this. He'll say, I'm an objective journalist. I'm just giving my perspective, which means that you're not objective. So he had on his show one of the police officers who testified in front of Congress during the January 6th hearing. This is the police officer who happened to suggest that America was congenitally racist and naturally racist because the people who were attempting to beat him up were shouting racist things. And Don Lemon sort of lets the cat out of the bag here because a lot of people on the right have been saying, January 6th was quite terrible. It was a riot, and the people who participated in it should go to jail. Now, folks on the left, what say you about all the riots from last year where you were, bailing people out of prison and where $5 billion in property damage was done, only $2 billion insured, and where many people were killed? What do you have to say about that? And Don Lemon's take on this is, I think, pretty much how the left thinks about nearly everything. It's pretty wild. Here is Don Lemon.
We can deal with many things in this country at the same time. And if something happens, it doesn't mean that you go, oh, well, what about this? What about that? Can't we focus on what happened on January 6th where our democracy was in jeopardy?
We should be.
This weren't just people who were exercising. Some of them were exercising their right to protest. Mm-hmm. Others went way too far. That's a different story than trying to undermine democracy and stop an election.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Right? Basically, there were some people at the BLM protests who they went too far. It happens. That's not the same thing as some people who went too far by invading the Capitol building. So, most of those people are just exercising their rights, and then they just got a little bit, overzealous, and they burned down a cop car, and they set a police station on fire, and they invaded a federal courthouse in Portland. And, that's just stuff that happens. That's not an insurrection. I mean, that's not is that really something we should worry about? Here's the thing about the left. There's no one who's too left-wing for the left. People who are too left-wing for the left are all people who are just too energetic. They're just too wedded to their own principles. Right? The people who are too left-wing for the left, even politically speaking, when is the last time you saw the Democratic Party say, this communist over here, he really is not one of us. I don't like what he's doing here. This is really bad. It's never that. It's always, they're naive. They're not, it's their naivete and their purity of heart. The problem is they're too pure, right? AOC, Bernie Sanders, the problem is they're too pure. They don't understand the realities of politics, but you have to admire their purity, don't you? That's on the political level. On the level of violence, it's, those people who are attacking police officers and shutting down cities for weeks on end and rioting and looting, those are just people who've gotten a little bit out over their skis. They've got the right principles. They believe the right things. It's just that they don't know how to control it, and really we have to have sympathy for them. Meanwhile, the folks on January 6th, those are inherently bad people because those people believe bad things and did bad things. We'll get to more of the craziness in just 1 second. First, how did you choose which ISP to use? The sad thing is, most of us have very little choice because internet service providers operate like monopolies in the regions they serve. They then use that monopoly power to take advantage of customers. Many ISPs log your internet activity and sell that data on to other big tech companies or advertisers. To prevent ISPs from seeing my internet activity, I protect all my devices with ExpressVPN. It's a simple app for your computer or smartphone that encrypts all your network data and tunnels it through a secure VPN server. Just download the app, you tap one button on your device, and now you're protected. Watch, here it is. It's on my phone. You see this? Right here. I hit this button, boink, and now connected. It is indeed that simple. And ExpressVPN does all of that without slowing your connection. That's why it's rated the #1 VPN service by CNET and Wired. So stop handing over your personal data to ISPs and other tech giants who mine your activity and then sell off your info. Protect yourself with the VPN I trust to keep me private online. Visit expressvpn.com/Ben to get 3 extra months for free. If you ever wonder whether CNN and Don Lemon, whether they are poo-pooing the sorts of violence that we saw all of last summer, the answer is yes, they are poo-pooing that sort of violence. This is why what they call whataboutism, very often I just call having a standard. It's not whataboutism if I say that January 6th was really bad, and also I'm noticing that you're not treating January 6th in the same way that you treated the riots last summer. So what is your standard? I know what my standard is. Violence in pursuit of political ends is bad, regardless of the political end. That is my standard. And we can argue about the merits or demerits of the political ends at stake. I think that both the folks who were rioting on January 6th and the folks who were rioting last summer, I think both of their causes were bad and untrue. But at least I have a standard, an objective standard of what is right and wrong. Don Lemon has no such standard. For him, it's the cause that defines the standard that is acceptable. If you are fighting against systemic racism, then you get to steal a TV. Or at the very least, if you steal a TV, we understand where you're coming from. But if you're a person who is protesting the election and you break into the Capitol building, that makes you an actor of unique evil. And that's kind of an amazing thing. It really, especially coming from Captain Objective news journalist over here. And then back to the political level, you see this all the time with regard to the left. If they go too far, well, it was all in the pursuit of decent ends. Again, my question is, what would you consider totalitarian? So if Donald Trump were to come out tomorrow and say, if he had been president, and during his presidency, President Trump had said, we're masking up everybody, vaccinated and unmasked and unvaccinated. If he had said that, the left likely would have deemed that authoritarian. If Joe Biden does it, it's deemed a wonderful exercise of police power. You have to have some sort of consistent standard as to what authoritarianism constitutes, or what radicalism constitutes, or what violence constitutes. But again, the standards are meant not to apply because it's all a power game. When we do it, it's good, and when you do it, it's bad. That's the standard. And so long as that's the standard, we can't have anything remotely approaching a normal political conversation. Because we can't even agree on what is out of bounds and what is not out of bounds, apparently. And that really is dangerous. Hey guys, quick note. My brand new book, The Authoritarian Moment, is out this week. Go pick up a copy today. I think it's really important. It's about how all of the major institutions of American society have now been taken over and weaponized by the left against dissent. It's not just about how they did it. It's about how we take those institutions back. Check out the link in the description below and get a copy of The Authoritarian Moment.